while being far enough from ground zero to let him hunt without risk of being flattened by new arrivals. Assuming no one flushed a house down the chute, of course. So far, no one had, or at least, not all at once. Ito spent the end of many days on the trash pile, using a hand scanner to catch any stray electronic or biochemical signals from some bit of rechargeable tech. An observer with an especially sharp eye would have noted that although his long coat had seen a lot of wear, it had been nice once. Too nice for Iron City. Then there was that old-fashioned hat. On anyone else, it would have been a sad affectation, but it belonged on him, mostly because of his bearing. The way he carried himself suggested he was an educated man of some importance who'd taken a wrong turn off the open road and ended up in Iron City. But no observer would know he had once lived a life of privilege and gentility, and, after losing everything, was now reduced to picking through the dregs and dross of a better world. His previous existence felt as distant to him as the war nobody knew very much about anymore. Nobody knew very much about him either, except that he was a highly skilled cybersurgeon who offered his services to Iron City cyborgs at whatever price they could pay. For them, this was as miraculous as a floating city, only a hell of a lot more useful. They were grateful for his skills, and he was grateful they never asked how he had come by them, or where he was from, or even how he'd got the small pale scar on his forehead. Everybody in Iron City had scars, as well as a past they didn't want to talk about. Ito stooped to pick up a corroded metal hand, peering at it through his round spectacles. As he dropped the hand into the bag slung across the front of his body, he caught sight of a single glass eye nestled in the socket of a burned metal skull. The eye was perfect, without even a small crack. How had it escaped damage when the skull had been fried? Ito bent down to have a closer look and decided the eye didn't belong to this skull, but had rolled into it by chance. All sorts of things happened by chance. If he hadn't come along at the right moment, both the eye and skull might have sunk back down into Zalim's broken, unwanted crap, never to resurface. Or some nearby movement might have caused the eye to roll out of the skull as accidentally as it had rolled in, and, unnoticed, would be mashed underfoot by an endless parade of scavengers. Ito pushed himself to his feet and looked around, trying to decide whether he should continue while there was still enough daylight for him to see where he was going, or quit while there was still enough night ahead for a few hours of sleep. Most of the other scavengers had given up and gone home, leaving only the desperate and the hardcore, the ones who were secretly hoping to find a real treasure. It was possible, for example, that a diamond ring had fallen off some Zalim aristocrat's hand into the trash by accident. Highly improbable, yes, but not physically impossible. Selling it in Iron City for even half its worth, that was impossible. Ito permitted himself a small chuckle and turned his thoughts back to the question of where to go next. Zalim had dumped a load about 15 minutes ago. While there was no set schedule, there was usually at least 20 minutes between deliveries. Usually, however, didn't mean always. He was trying to decide whether to tempt fate in 10-minute increments, scavenge for 5 minutes, then stand back for another 5. Normally, he didn't take chances. He was the only doctor most of Iron City's cyborgs could afford, and he took his duty of care seriously. That, however, was why he was weighing the risk. The center hadn't already been picked over, which gave him a better chance of finding something usable, particularly servos. He needed more servos. He always needed more servos. He was still deliberating when 2 things happened at once. His gaze fell on something half buried in the slope about 3 meters ahead of him, and he felt the scanner in his hand pulse ever so slightly. For a moment, he didn't dare move.